So we're going to start off. Welcome. I can't see who's here, but welcome to all of our parents and families and teachers and community members to come to this really great night to hear from our alumni about what they're doing now, how NCCL had an impact on them. And so we're really grateful for this alumni community and for our NCCL extended family. So we're just going to start off introducing yourself, how long you attended NCCL, where you went to high school slash college, what you're doing now, a fun NCCL fact. I'll leave that up to you to pick. And I'm going to start with Rachel because I'm just going to go on my screen.
My name is Rachel. I'm currently a freshman at the Tatnall School, and I joined NCCL in first grade. So I was there for 8 years. And my favorite thing, or my favorite NCCL memory, is probably playing Belle in Beauty and the Beast.
You were fabulous. So, Nicole.
I'm Nicole. I went to NCCL. I started in fifth grade. So I guess that's 4 years. I don't know. I'm not the best with math. Um, and I graduated there in eighth grade. I went to St. Elizabeth High School in Wilmington. And then I'm a senior at Immaculata University in Pennsylvania. And then I guess my favorite memory would be, um, that's hard. I feel like there's so many. Probably like aftercare, just hanging out with friends after school. So yeah.
Awesome. Rowan.
Sorry. Hi, I'm Rowan. I went from first to eighth, so 7 years, 8 years, I don't know. And I have gone to high school at Odessa, as well as St. Andrews. I'm graduating at Odessa this year, and I'd say my favorite part of NCCL was the teachers. I think that the staff was just really my favorite part.
Aw. And Rowan, you bring a really great perspective. I always like to have a variety of students who've started NCCL from beginning to end, people who've come in partway through, and also people who've changed high schools because people worry about like choosing the right high school and what if we choose the wrong high school and so I think you're bringing a really good perspective and unique perspective of how you can change, and so hopefully you'll speak to that. Clara.
Hi, my name's Clara. I'm currently a sophomore at Sanford High School, and I was at NCCL from kindergarten through eighth grade. So yeah, and a fun NCCL memory I have is probably celebrating my birthday on the camping trip. That was
Ah,
fun.
fun. Awesome. Okay, Mike Windle. I just introduced you.
I'm Mike Windle. I am graduated in 2001, which means I graduated longer ago than some of you have been alive. Um, I went from third to eighth grade. After NCCL, I went to Cab Calloway School for the Performing Arts for high school, then UD for a year, Del Tech for a while, the University of Wisconsin-Madison, and the University of Wisconsin Law School. I'm a lawyer, and my favorite memory is there was one time when there was a big snowstorm and like 80% of the school got picked up, but the left behinds kind of just got to do a snowball fight, and then we made hot chocolate and learned how to play poker with those little colored math chips.
With Ray, was it?
Yep.
Yeah, that's awesome. Oh, that's great. Carlos.
Hi, I'm Carlos Lobo, and I graduated in 2021. I attended NCCL for all 9 years, so K through 8, and I went to Newark High School for 4 years. Just recently graduated from there. Now I'm going to the University of Delaware. I'm in the honors program studying mathematics, and my favorite memory from NCCL is probably the storm.
Oh, on the COVID storm, the day that
Yeah,
we walked. Oh, that is
the
actually,
storm.
Carlos, that is probably one of my favorite days of teaching ever in all my many years was that day. It was COVID, it was pouring, it was torrential rain, and we did Survival Island and we all were in school in the tents and did all kinds of fun things. That was a great day. I loved it. Well, thank you, everyone. And again, welcome and thank you for giving your time back to your alma mater. And we'll kind of kick off. We have some questions. So for parents and people who are here, we're going to cover what things were like in high school, what the transition was like, how kids were prepared for high school, but life even outside of high school, what experiences were most important to our alumni, and how did NCCL shape and impact who they are today? And what do they carry with them from their time at school? And again, just, you guys can you don't have to answer every question, just raise your hand and I'll call on you. And also you can piggyback on people if you have something to add on. I just like it to be kind of a conversation rather than like an interrogation. So does anybody want to kick off with what it was like leaving NCCL? Some of you have been there since kindergarten, and people sometimes are like, how did they transition to a big high school or a different high school? And some of you had, come from other places and then left again. So I don't know if anyone wants to take on like what that was like for you in high school.
I'd like to say it was definitely easier for me than most, I think. Um, so my high school was pretty large. We had large classes, but I was in the honors program in high school, so I took most of my classes with the same group of people. But I think my time at NCCL prepared me really well to just have like a working relationship with my teachers and not see them as sort of like a superior. They're just another person. And I think that helped me a lot. And then I also I know some people worry about like making friends going into high school, but it's really not that hard. I think uh, like transitioning from small classes to big class sizes, really the only difference is you have more people to make friends with. So it was very nice.
Awesome. And people could just unmute and piggyback. We could have it.
Yeah, I also went to a bigger high school, either about 1,200 people. So going from a school with like 100 to 1,200 it seemed scary, but honestly, I had a pretty like easy transition. I think like besides that like initial fear, I like I think it sort of set me up to be able to like find my people and be confident to like just handle things and know who I am and like who I want to talk to, what I want to do. So like I found the transition pretty easy. It definitely seemed a lot scarier than it was, and even with like grading and all like just public school in general, the difference like it seems bigger than it was. So I found it pretty easy to transition.
Yeah, I completely agree with what Rowan and Carlos are saying. And I like just recently had this transition. I'm still in the first few months of high school. So like it's all very new to me, but I feel like I was the same amount of like being prepared as everybody else, if not more prepared. Like I feel like it was a really smooth transition and I played a fall sport too, which really helped with like meeting people and just being able to know people before the first day of school actually started. But I feel like I was just really well prepared and went in feeling obviously I was nervous, but like I went in feeling good and it's like I don't know, it's been a very great transition for me.
Yeah, definitely. I would agree with Rachel. I feel like my transition, it was pretty smooth in all aspects, whether it was like social or school related. And like Rachel, I played a fall sport, so I feel like being able to make friends and like meet other people at the school, especially in like all different grades, was really helpful before I started my first year.
Right. Um, yeah, how about so sometimes not just parents, but people might worry about like our unique approach to academics that we're doing projects that it's project-based learning, that we don't have grades, and thinking about math is often a concern. Having a conceptual-based math program, people worry like what would that look like in high school? Carlos, you might be able to speak to that too, since you're
Yeah. So I know a lot of people have worries about mathematics after graduating from NCCL. I want to say NCCL definitely sets you up better than other schools for high school math. And I think that uh, conceptual, like grasping the concepts behind math, make it a lot easier to learn new concepts. So definitely, it's a very it's a really good place to learn math, and I'm still benefiting from the things I learned 5 years ago.
Great.
Yeah, I feel like NCCL helps a lot with like not just understanding the literal equation to things, but really understanding how they actually work, which I feel like is such a great like skill to have just learning throughout your life because we do so many like activities and have so many visuals and stuff that really just allow you to truly understand what you're learning. Where I feel like other schools, like they know the material, but they don't really know why it's working. So I feel like NCCL just really like gave me the skills to understand why things are working. And if I don't understand why, like to reach out and ask, like why, just to have that understanding. So I think that was something NCCL did really well for me.
Right. Nicole, was it like going to a Catholic high school from NCCL too? That was like a different experience than.
Definitely a transition just because like NCCL is so like um what's the word? Like not laid back, but like understanding. And Catholic school is just so not that kind of way. So it was definitely a transition, but I think going to like a smaller school helped. And also like leaving NCCL, I felt very like I knew who I was and I felt very empowered with who I was and I was okay with who I was. So I think yeah, like the school was a very different, like the structure and everything was different than NCCL, but I think leaving how I felt and how NCCL helped made me feel really helped with that transition of going to something so new and different.
Oh, that's beautiful. Thank you. Um, so I mean, this sort of goes in and into that is like, and you guys touched on it, so I don't know if we, can sort of wrap it into, but how did it maybe prepare you? That was academics, but are there other ways that it's prepared you for different experiences? Rowan?
I think Carlos touched on this, but I think relationships with teachers is a huge thing that NCCL sets you up for. I obviously had great relationships with all the teachers at NCCL. They were all amazing people. I love them all so much. But I think going into high school, I've really continued that pattern. I get along really great with all my teachers. I'm able to like talk to them before and after class, just like chat. Like people, people are so afraid of teachers and see them as this like big scary thing. But I think for me and being able to ask questions or ask for extra help without it being super daunting, that's one of the things I think has like really like noticeable and definitely came from NCCL is like I can connect with adults really well and like seek help from my teachers and like make good relationships with them, which is really helpful. Like I'm getting my college recommendation letters, and I know I have two really solid recommenders because I'm like good friends with both of my teachers.
So I'm going to jump in off of that one because that continues to serve you throughout your life. In my professional career, I've interacted with Supreme Court justices and the Federal Court of Appeals for Armed Services, a four-star general once who was a former drug czar. And it was the exact same experience dealing with all of them. They're just people. And that's something that I learned in my time at NCCL. As soon as Carlos first said it, I wanted to jump on that and just point out that that's that kind of, I don't even know if it qualifies as confidence, but just knowing who you are and knowing that there's no barrier in interacting with anyone will carry you far. Just don't insult a court of appeals to their faces.
I think also being able to advocate for yourself, like you you grow these relationships with the teachers at NCCL that you're like, okay, like now I feel better in advocating for myself in high school and then in college and then in life. Like being able to advocate for yourself and others is such an important thing. And I think that NCCL really helps like foster that and grow that skill.
Thank you. Okay, well, so another question that we had was what experience, I mean, I love hearing the fun experiences too, like the snowstorm, all the storms, the rainstorm, the snowstorm, drama, but are there, what experiences were most important to you? And it could be fun, but also thinking about what maybe learning experiences you had that are meaningful or that um, were important because it shaped you or shaped how things were for you in high school or beyond? Like, do you have, any
Martin
specific?
Luther King Day.
Can you say more about that?
Every Martin Luther King Day, for obvious reasons, I was called on to do the I Have a Dream speech. And I ended up in a profession that requires a lot of public speaking. There's no substitute for experience. And I can still think back to standing up there, seeing the eyes on me, pause, breathing, cadence. It was just a little thing, but it stuck with me all these years. Um, so just those kinds of the diversity of experiences that you're offered there um, is helpful in whatever you choose to do afterwards.
Yeah, kind of. Oh, sorry, Carlos. Like, he said about public speaking, I feel like having to facilitate all school meeting, like when you're in seventh and eighth grade, I feel like it's such a great experience too, because everybody has to do it at least once. And I think it's just such a great way to start like getting comfortable with public speaking because you're in front of the whole school running a whole meeting and it can be very stressful, but I think it was such a great experience because all of your friends are there like supporting you and helping you, and I think that was just something that like really helped me. And by the end of like eighth grade and stuff, I was wanting to run all school meeting. Like it wasn't something that I felt like I had to do. It was like something that I wanted to do. So I think that was a skill that like I really that really helped me. Yeah.
I know something I've definitely benefited from, and it sounds like it would just be an academic benefit, but I feel like NCCL really taught me how to be engaged in my own learning, but that's really applicable outside of class. Just looking at like politics and like religion and all these separate things, it's really useful to be able to think critically when you're looking at something. And um, the way people learn is, I believe, very much altered by the way they're taught when they're younger. So it is really useful to be brought up, forced to engage in my own learning, like, looking at um, looking back at the mock dictatorship, it's given me a lot of sympathy for, the people living in Russia right now and the people living in lots of, like Dubai and places where the government isn't really, it's not safe to speak out and all those things. So it definitely is important to be able to sympathize with people. And I feel NCCL taught me to do that very well.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think for me, like this is more specific, but one of my favorite like experiences that I got to have at NCCL was probably my big give because just being able to like choose a topic that I was really passionate about and raise the money for that and work to like plan and organize like the fundraisers I did. I feel like it was a great learning opportunity, but it was also a really cool experience to get to do because most people in my age wouldn't get to have that type of opportunity, which I feel like NCCL really provides for you, which is really cool.
Oh, thanks. I should give a quick, we're doing it, it's Big Give Year, so that people might not know that, I mean, a lot of our parents are very involved because their kids come in and want to participate, but that every student finds what they're passionate about, how do they want to make a difference in the world, what speaks to them, whether it's through, like Nicole, yours was just like, I just remember watching something be born when you were doing it. You might want to talk about it. and they get $50 to make a difference with, but they can't just give the money away. You have to form your own kind of nonprofit, your own, you have to write a mission statement, have a budget, figure out how to raise awareness, how to write letters and public speaking, and how to plan events. There's so many skills that go into it. The most important thing is that you're learning, as Nicole said, to advocate for other people and to make a difference, and that how empowered you all are. So I don't know, Nicole, like if you want to piggyback on that
Yeah.
bit.
Yeah, so I did my big give. I think I was in seventh grade when I did it actually. And I had a close friend who had just recently passed away from childhood cancer. And so I kind of knew automatically that that's like the focus of my big give. So I reached out to like a couple organizations and I fell and I landed with Nemours palliative care unit. And I reached out and I was like, hey, like, what do you guys need? Like, I'm doing this project. And they said, we love to give these two different books to families who are going through palliative care. And so I was like, okay, awesome. Like I had a goal and like I knew what I was going for. And then as like a side note, I was like, okay, like I want to give like pens and journals to these kids as well, like so they can do something while they're sitting in the hospital bed. So I reached out to like pen companies and Walgreens, like local Walgreens around, seeing if they would like donate supplies. And like surprisingly, I got a lot of stuff. I'll
Wrote,
be
you
honest, I was not expecting everything that I got.
wrote to the
Um,
publishers of the books. You wrote to the authors of the books. Yeah.
it was really eye-opening to see like what I could do. And so at the end of it, I was able to give, I think like 44 copies of each book and then like wagons full of pens and pencils and markers to these kids. And then the day of my give, my friend's parents were there, my parents were there, Kate and Jim were there, and it was just a really impactful thing. And then a few of his doctors and nurses were there as well. And I think being able, like, that started in middle school, and like I'm still very actively doing things like that now. My sophomore year of college, I started my own Be Positive Club on my campus because they didn't have one, and I was like, I felt the need to start one. So I think having it from such like a young age and like saying like, okay, like you can really do anything. And so I think the big give was like very monumental for me. Like I don't think if I hadn't done it, I don't know if like I would still be like so into it and really like going towards that as a career. So I love the big give.
I know. Well, we'll be keeping in touch. We're going to network up. My students are here. It was their homework tonight to come, but I'm sure they wanted to come anyway. So these are all really helpful tips for them as they're thinking about what they're doing. We're getting ready to write our picture books and a big give. So, and by the way, so we didn't do this, Mike. I didn't have you in group 4, but your picture books are part of the picture book study, whether we have a hard copy or it's through Blurb Online. So all of you continue to your teachers. Um, you're expert writers and authors and illustrators for our students. So you really continue to be part of our classroom and give back in ways you didn't even know. So in fact, Clara and Rachel and Juliet, I was just talking today, kids were like, what if we have the same idea? And I was like, I had 3 students, but who had a similar idea or theme and went in totally different directions. So that was, I already used you as an example just today, which was awesome. Um, yeah, anything else that you maybe did or were important to you at NCCL?
You also do apprenticeships?
We still do.
Okay, wonderful. I mean, it's kind of basic, but you know, getting out there and getting an experience of what a job is like is invaluable. And I think it taught me a work ethic and uh, to appreciate kind of a weirdness and just the like what retail is like. Um, and you know, even if that's not something you end up pursuing long term, it's helpful and I think it's a good experience for everyone to have because you will have more sympathy and empathy for kind of the line workers that you'll be interacting with through the rest of your life.
Hmm. Where did you apprentice, Mike?
It was it changed names. It was Outer Limits and then Rainbow Road.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
with Don and actually it was Mike the first year, and then you walked me in the second year, and Mike wasn't there, and so me just being me was like, oh, did he get fired or something? And you just whipped your head around and were like, that is not appropriate to ask. That's not your business.
Sorry, or good. I don't know which one. Um, well, thanks for sharing. And again, if anything pops up that you think of, and also for our people who are the audience, if you have questions, if you want to put questions in the chat, Jordan's going to field those too. So Jordan can help with that as we go through, or at the end, we'll definitely make time for questions. So, I mean, that sort of rolls in. I don't know if there's anything to add on to that, but like, how did NCCL impact or shape who you are, and like, what do you carry with it from your time? Just Rowan, go.
Yeah, I think one of the most important things that NCCL did for me is just giving me a sort of confidence and self-awareness in like who I am and what I want and what I like and who I want to be friends with. I think that like middle school, being in NCCL during middle school especially was so important. I think that's like such a weird time and you don't know, like it's so hard to be like an adolescent going through puberty and like being in middle school and being in a place that like let you just be yourself and not having to like conform to any like other people's expectations during middle school. Like I actually am doing what's called work-based learning. I'm interested in being a teacher, so I'm shadowing a teacher, middle school teacher, and I think it's at a public school, so I get like sort of a view of what it's like to be a middle schooler in public school. And it's honestly kind of sad to see like people like these kids who are all just sort of like trying to be in a box, trying to like be like fly under the radar, trying to like be normal and popular, whatever, like all these sorts of things that I feel like NCCL just sort of let you like find yourself without any like pressure from other peers and other people. So once you get to high school, you're really like confident and I think you're more like mature or emotionally intelligent in a way that most people who like when they get to middle school try to like fit in that sort of way don't get. I think that's definitely like a huge part of it for me. It's just like confidence and knowing who I am and like being okay with that because I had that time during middle school.
Yeah, from the minute Gabe reached out to me till we started talking, all I could think of was being myself, allowing me to be myself. If I want to grow my hair out long and go by fro and call combos fro treats, that was perfectly acceptable. And to show an impact of what that's like later in life. And kind of to roll in some of the questions that we're seeing in the chat here. So I have ADHD, and that is not great for attorneys. It's a very detail-oriented profession where you have to sit and research and write these long things. And what I did was find my kind of niche. And I was probably one of the worst students to come out of UW Law School, not again because of my previous educational experiences, but because law school is nothing but rules and controls. And but when I was interviewing for the firm that I currently work at, I sat down and, all I had were my grades. So I sat there and I was like, I am one of the worst students to ever come out of law school, but I will be a fantastic lawyer. And that confidence, I think, was conveyed to them, and they took a gamble on me, and it's been years now, and I've gotten some pretty significant contracts for us. Actually, the reason we've shifted to municipal practice is because I've picked up so many more municipal clients, and I mean, I would credit that partially to just my personality, but a whole lot to my experiences at NCCL.
I would say learning how to deal with conflict. At NCCL, like it's so small that you can't just say like, oh, like I'm not going to be friends with you anymore because chances are there's like only five other people in your class. So you kind of have to be friends with everyone. So I think being able to like work through the conflict, and realizing like okay, like there are people that I'm gonna interact with in life that like I might not be best friends with, but I still have to work with them. I have to see them every day, and being okay with that and being able to reach somewhat of a middle ground to be able to get the work done that you need to do, I think was a really important thing that NCCL taught me. I feel like oftentimes like with conflict, you're like, oh, I'm just gonna avoid it. Like I'm gonna avoid the conflict. I don't want to look at it. I don't want to deal with it. But being able to like actually like work through it with someone, was really big and has helped me like as I continue through school and life and like eventually with coworkers and colleagues and all that kind of stuff.
Hmm.
Yeah, I feel like something NCCL taught me too is just the idea of leadership. And I feel like there's so many opportunities throughout your years there where we get to be a leader. And like for the buddy system, for example, like as an older buddy, you get the opportunity to have somebody that looks up to you. And I feel like it's just such a great opportunity to be able to have that, especially once you then transition to high school. Like you're now on the younger end instead of being on the older end. So it just feels like you kind of have a sense for what you want from leaders and what you want to be as a leader, which I feel like is just something that was very helpful to learn.
For those of you who don't know me, I there are three things I really like doing. It's reading, running, and math, and those consume a lot of my life. And if I hadn't gone to NCCL, I think I'd be in pretty dire straits socially right now, because I wouldn't have grown out of my shell like I did. It seems weird to say that you went to a school with 10 people to a grade and that made you more sociable, but it being around the same people all the time really gave you the confidence that you could meet people and be nice to them and they'd like you, which had never like it took a minute for that to dawn on me. And I am I'm a very introverted person and I'm not the best socially, but I know Kate worked with me a lot in my last couple of years at NCCL, just getting my social skills up to standards. And now, like, I do things that, I never would have thought I'd done before. You know, I was like in multiple musicals, singing in front of 1,000 people in my school's auditorium. I was homecoming king. Like, who could have seen that coming? I'm bald. And, you know, I gave a speech in front of 2,000 people and I was barely even nervous. So it's just, wild that I can be here today. And like, there's not many kids you see who have read Harry Potter 20 times who can go and do those things. And I think that's, um, it's almost a miracle that I'm able to do these things because of NCCL.
Oh, well, and you're an amazing person.
Well, Kate, we had a question in the chat,
Okay,
and
great.
Mike kind of touched on it. I don't know if you can see the questions, but I can read it.
It's helpful if you read on that would be great.
Yep, sure. So the question's from Anna, and she asks, can you talk about how you transitioned to going from no grades at NCCL to grades in high school? If you feel comfortable about sharing how to transition from a place where you have a lot of flexibility and autonomy with small classes to more strict or schedule-based environments. And then she goes on to say, the second part of her question is more specific to ADHD or other learning differences, which Mike did touch on. She says she values NCCL because it allows for a lot of autonomy and worry that a typical high school is going to be a tough shift. So particularly those students who went to public or Catholic schools, which most of you have, um, which she feels tend to be more strict, rule-based, compliance-focused.
I have dyslexia. I think I kind of thrive off of like a certain level of strictness. And like I know at my time at NCCL, like I would kind of like put it on myself and be like, okay, I have to get this, this, and this done. Like, and like, was that the true reality? No, I put that on myself. Like, it was not from like any teacher or anything. So I think I really thrive off of like having a set schedule and like being very strict with like what I'm doing. And I've said this from day one, and I've said it to freshmen who are coming into college, like having a schedule that you set for yourself. And I think like setting your own schedule, like maybe not with like specific classes that you're taking, but like when you're gonna study what and like that kind of stuff. Gives you that kind of level of autonomy and has helped me to like structure my days and like make sure that like I'm not just laying in bed all day because that's a really easy thing to do especially on my days off um but just like finding what works for you, whether that's setting like a schedule or using a Google Calendar. I love my Google Calendar or having like a paper calendar. Really that like finding what works for you and sticking with it. And like if it takes a few like tries, that's okay. And if it works for a little bit and then it stops, like that's also fine. Like just finding what will work best for you, I would say is what helped me the best transitioning.
I can definitely speak on the transitioning from no grades to pretty strict grades at a public school. Like if you didn't turn it in like zero, bam, you're done. I think that was a little difficult, but honestly, what NCCL did for me is made me like care about my learning and education. And when you care and about your learning and you are a good student, you're gonna get good grades. So, like, if I'm not just gonna do the bare minimum because I've been pushed to do more and like do grow and do like put as much effort into it as I have, so that I feel like a lot of kids in public school aren't like pushed to do more than the bare minimum to get a passing grade or to get like a good enough grade. So just like that, my personal like I'm care about my education and that I have good grades and that I'm actually learning things, if that's important to you, which I think NCCL really instills in you, then I think it was pretty easy to get great grades in high school. So that was my experience.
Yeah, I think for me, something like transitioning to high school, that was kind of what I was most stressed about was like my grades. But like Rowan said, like I cared about my schoolwork, which I found that a lot of my other classmates didn't. So I feel like that really helped make that transition easier. And being at a school where I could learn and didn't have to worry about like the pressure of grades made me enjoy learning now in high school. And I feel like my grades, like it's not something I'm stressed about. Like I do care about them and I want to do well in school, but I never like I don't find it to be a stressful thing often. And I feel like at NCCL, even though we don't take tests, like we learn good study habits and good time management skills with what we did. So I feel like that really helped to prepare me for that kind of transition.
And I don't have any learning differences, but my brother had a 504 in high school. And I think the people who know him can vouch. He definitely struggles with organization. Um, but he didn't really face any difficulty at all. He graduated at the top of his class, and now he almost has a 4.0 here at UD and one of the most demanding majors. And he is a smart guy, got to give him credit for that. But like especially high school, um, the classes aren't super hard. Like if you have a really tough schedule and you don't have the time to do everything, it's probably because you messed up while making your schedule and you made it a little too hard. You should have time to do things like theater and arts and things, you know. It shouldn't just be grinding AP Chem homework and then AP Calc. Like, you should have a lot of free time, which makes it very easy to get your work done. And like you can leave things to the last minute, but still, I found that, I took a lot of very hard classes in high school that other people struggled with, but I I never found that time management was an issue because even in high school, they give you free time to do stuff, and you're only there for a few hours a day. Like you have maybe 6 hours to do whatever you want, even if you're doing sports. So it's not too bad.
Well, one of the things that's interesting that Anna asked too is if because there is a lot of and people talk about freedom. It's not like you have a lot of autonomy. There's a lot of space for you to be who you are. And if you're in a more structured high school, how do you still find, or where do you find the space in high school to still explore your interests or passions or be who you are? Or is it feel stifling? How do you not feel stifled, I guess, too? If somebody's like, if you have that and you're going to something more structured, like what is that like, I guess?
You make the space, the confidence that we talked about earlier. If I feel like I needed to participate in a sport or an activity, I told anyone who needed to know that that's what I was doing. There was no asking. There was no, oh, but you have this going on, or you need to be doing this. It was, this is what's going to make me happy and me more successful. And you can support me and help me do my best at it, or we're going to fight over it and we're both going to be unhappy.
I just I don't think my transition into the more structured environment was very difficult. I think honestly, like I mean, it's the rules or structure is like strict in one way and lenient in others. Where like, yeah, you have to do these things, but if you get them done, then you have a lot of like room to work. And so I don't think I struggled a lot with a more structured environment just because I was able to get what I needed to do done, and then at that other time that I had, I could devote to, whatever interested me.
And definitely you still have chances to make your own freedom with your academic pursuits in high school. Like you might get English projects or something, and you can just take that in whatever direction you want and like completely surprise the teacher. If you do a good job and you work hard on it, I'm sure they'll be impressed. So, you know, you don't really lose that freedom, but it really takes, the creativity you get from having it in the first place to put it to good use.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I think the creativity is a huge part of it, and like especially in AP courses, which I've taken a lot of, there are a lot of like long-term projects where you're deciding what you're doing. I remember in my AP African American history course, it was like 3 months, and you pick the topic and go. Like you're like that's all we're gonna give you. So I think like having that confidence to be like, okay, I know what I'm interested in. I know how to make a schedule for this. I can do my research on this. I know what credible websites are. Like all that stuff, I think is a big part of what NCCL gives you is to just like you're able to ask for help when you need it because you're like you can take accountability for your own needs, but also like you don't need someone to hold your hand because you've already like been in place in positions where you're making your own decisions and you're being a leader and you're like accountable for yourself. So you don't need to be like, "Oh, is this okay? Oh, I'm confused. Oh, like how do I do this?" I think it's that confidence is like helpful across the board.
Okay. Rachel, was your hand? I don't know if your hand was up or not, but yeah, sorry.
We have another question in the chat. This one's from Peggy, and she says, "Hey everyone, do you have a memory of a challenging experience at NCCL you were able to overcome with mentoring? And can you describe how you reflected on that experience in facing challenges in high school, college, or life beyond?"
Great question, Peggy. Thank you.
Yeah.
I know someone had touched on this. I don't remember who, but I think conflict resolution it was a huge thing that was sort of difficult in middle school. Again, you're with the same group of people, and if there's like issues, there's issues because you see them all the time. And I think we had a lot of meetings. Kate like helped us all get together, all talk about, yeah, a lot of conversations with everyone involved. And like obviously at the time I was like, oh, this sucks. Like I don't want to be here. Like I don't like you or whatever. But it sort of teaches you to like look at things from a different perspective, especially, or just be able to like be forgiving. So I think that that was really hard for me in middle school. And after a lot of those meetings in like different situations, when I'm having problems with friends now, I find it easier to forgive people or to be like, hey, they're going through something right now. Let me not hold them to the highest standards. Let me cut you some slack if you're going through something. Or like if someone's talking bad about someone, I'm like, hey, she's not here. Like, let's not, like that sort of stuff was really difficult for me in middle school. But I think the way that we handled it at NCCL was super helpful for me in my relationships and friendships now. And, being able to like keep those friends, even if you do something wrong, like I can forgive you and I can like see it from your side.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah, I feel like what Rowan said, there were definitely a lot of like conflicts within your friends just because of constantly being around them. But I feel like there was such a good like the eye to eye system. Like even though it sounds like kind of weird how it's all laid out, like it really does work being able to know how to share what exactly is wrong and understand it from the other person's perspective. I feel like was such a great like skill that I had to learn over and over until it actually like clicked what was happening. But definitely when I was younger, like second and third grade, I had to have those meetings a lot with my friends, but like I feel like it definitely helped me build those skills. So now when like, and obviously back then they weren't very big issues. It was kind of stupid things, but like
They were big to you at the time. They meant
yeah.
a lot at the time.
But now like when we actually are dealing with maybe some bigger things, I feel like I like have learned some of those skills on how to just communicate my issues and my problems with other people.
Yeah, just I know I've been talking a lot, but just what you said, I remember, you can request what was called an eye to eye, which I would, was good to take advantage of because now I can be like, oh, it's not that scary to be like, hey, something you did bothered me. Like, I think that's sort of like not being afraid of conflict and not being afraid to be like, hey, can we talk about this? Was this a misunderstanding? Like, I know like a bunch of things like are just misunderstandings, but if I didn't like talk to you, I wouldn't have known, and then that would have sort of festered. So I think being like not being afraid to like confront seems bad, but like confront someone if you're upset or like being be like not scared to like talk to people like that was good.
Yeah, just adding on to that, you see a lot of people in high school, even close friends, um, especially in senior year, just some weird, stupid drama happens and people do stupid things and they get really inflated about it. Um, and this is like the kind of thing that only happens when you're in high school. It's just so weird. But you know, a lot of my friends had situations where people would do or say something mean about them behind their back and they'd hear about it and they wouldn't be I want to be friends with that person anymore. And um, you know, I sometimes had that happen to myself too. But I'm still friends with all those people and they're not gonna do it again because I had the confidence to go up and tell them like this is wrong. You shouldn't have done this, and I'd like an apology or to apologize if you did something wrong. That takes a lot of confidence too, and that's been really useful, and I think it's been very helpful in maintaining my relationships with my friends because sometimes you say stuff and you don't even expect it to hurt someone's feelings, but there might be something you don't know about. And the ability to, it seems so stupid to say this, but people are just unwilling to apologize to each other sometimes. And that's really something I've never had to deal with.
Hey, don't knock it. It pays my bills.
That's great.
Actually, I do want to hop in here. I don't know how many of you had the pleasure of learning under him. But Ray, who was passed, I had him toward the end of my NCCL career, and I think it's fair to say that Ray and I would butt heads from time to time. Um, and what he taught me is, if it hasn't come across, I don't really deal well with authority or structure and things like that. But there's a way to do that constructively. Again, tying back to the I know who I am, and I'm not necessarily going to change who that is for anyone. But at the same time, when we, would get into these not arguments or anything like that, just I'd be acting out, and he'd call me on it. But then I remember a camping trip where he sat at the grill for probably a straight up hour because I would just not stop eating pancakes, and he would just keep making more and more pancakes. And he showed me that there are authority figures who just want to do it for the authority. And then there are people who really do have your best interests out in their hearts, and you maybe are not able to see it in the way that they're expressing it, and sometimes they get frustrated too. But it doesn't have to be a challenge every single time with every single authority figure. You need to give them that opportunity to show you whether or not they're just a bully, or whether or not they're trying to guide you, and maybe you just haven't worked out the groove of how to communicate best yet.
Oh, thanks, Mike. Well, we're coming close to the end of the time. I don't know. I always like to give an opportunity, and thanks for the questions to our parents. And also, I can always reach out if you have a specific question for an alumni. I can reach out and put you in touch, or get an answer for you. Or I'm always available to talk to anybody who has questions about high school transition, what it looks like, how kids are prepared. But it's always best to hear from you guys. If anybody, I want to leave room for you guys. If you have anything you didn't share, you didn't get to say, or there's something about your time at NCCL, or anything about how it's impacting you today, or just advice for my students, like what they should appreciate and enjoy during their last year or two at NCCL. I would love to hear from you before we say goodbye.
So I'm taking a history of education class right now as my history elective in college. And it's been really cool and neat to see all the sort of, progressive ideas in education that have been developed in the last couple centuries, and all these studies that say they worked really well. Um, and then it just says like schools didn't really adopt these though. And it's been really cool to see, all these philosophical papers that these doctorates are writing up. And I'm like, oh, hey, I recognize that. And it's all this stuff that we did at NCCL. It's just really funny. Yeah.
You're like, they knew what they were doing after all.
I think my biggest takeaway would definitely be maybe for your students, and also just like the most important thing that I think NCCL did for me is like, again, middle school is such a weird time in your life. Like you are going through like huge changes, and you are finding yourself. Like that is like such a huge part of this. And like NCCL is such a great place to do that. And like please be like grateful and take advantage of this time and space, like not change for people, and like pursue your interests and pursue your passions, and like, because again, I see middle schoolers a lot, and I see them definitely not doing that in public school. I see them like on their phones a lot, like, and just like not talking to people, and it sucks. So please, like, for me, that I did that, I think has been so helpful for my own confidence, like just going through my life, being able to be like, I like myself, and I know who I am, and like what I value, and all this sorts of things. So do that, find like what you like, find who you are, and like, because that's like the best place to do it.
Hmm.
I definitely want to say, everyone, no matter who you are, you should be doing extracurriculars. I know, especially sports. And, people look at extracurriculars as very surface level things, like they're there to get you into colleges and stuff. They're not. The Man, I started in cross country my freshman year, and that was just the biggest boon to me because I already knew and was friends with upper class people. Just like right away, you know people who have established friend groups. You have people you're gonna see every day who have similar interests to you, and it I just could not recommend it enough. Be it like a sport, a club, theater, whatever. I get involved.
I would say the transition's going to be hard, no matter if you think you're the most prepared person in the world or you think that it's the end of the world. It's going to be scary, but say yes to things like what Carlos was saying, like do extracurricular activities, do a fall sport, because then you meet people in preseason. Everyone's in the same boat at that point, and like as a freshman, you're not alone. Everyone might seem like they know other people or they went to a similar middle school and it wasn't anything like NCCL, but at the end of the day, everyone is starting a new school and you're all in the same boat. And I think that if you're able to remember that, then you're going to be able to get through the transition and it'll be okay.
Oh,
Yeah, I just want to say, like, take advantage. I think Rowan touched on this, but take advantage of your time at NCCL because it's just such a great, like, community that you're a part of for your entire life. And I love being there. I wish I could go, like, be a student there again. But just make sure you're, like, taking advantage of every moment you get with those people and those teachers because they're really special people.
thanks, Rachel.
Yeah, definitely just take advantage of all the opportunities you get to have. Like nobody else I've talked to has gone to go to something and do something like apprenticing, like they're and workshop week. Like they're all really special opportunities that NCCL gives to you. And just take advantage of the bonds you get to make. Like I've made some of my closest friends from NCCL and I've established great relationships with the teachers there. And I loved coming back to like get to visit because it's such a special place and it's such a special community. So definitely just take advantage of that while you're there.
Oh, thanks.
I have a lifelong love of learning. I've spent decades in higher education. NCCL is the last time I can remember enjoying being taught. So, 4 years of high school, unsuccessful year at UD, the 6 years to get my associates, the 5 years to get my bachelor's and JD, all of that was a struggle for me to various degrees. But I mean, there are so many times, like Slumdog Millionaire, I'll have a memory throwing back to, sitting in the library or the group 3 room and where I learned that, why I learned it, the people and the circumstances that were around me. It's more than just the information that comes to me. It's a full blown memory. And I did not get that educational experience in any other school that I went to.
Thanks. Jordan, it's hard for me to see questions and do this. Is there anything else
There were 2 questions in the chat from Peggy, one, but some of them have been addressed, but I can read them. Were you involved in any extracurriculars or received tutoring while at NCCL? And what did that look like if you think it helped your transition to a more traditional and grade-based setting? The other question was, have you met friends from other schools and heard about experiences you wish NCCL would explore as an enhancement?
You can't enhance what is the best. I
Yeah. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No.
I the same thing. Like the NCCL was so unique and gave so many different experiences. I think anyone else who went to a different middle school would be jealous of my experience rather than the other way around. So can't really think of anything I've heard anyone else do that was more like meaningful than the experiences I had there.
Yeah, really the only sort of things that NCCL is missing are like, sports and a marching band and stuff. And like we still got to play sports and stuff, But also, that's a sacrifice you have to make for the small class sizes. And I actually I'm tutoring some people now, and I did a lot of tutoring in high school, and I knew a lot of people who were very motivated and very grade focused, and they had been in grade focused programs for a while, and it did not do them any good. Um, so I think, especially having some time where you're just focused on learning materials and not just getting a number so that you can move on is very important.
Great. Well, I just want to thank all of you. I'm so proud of all of you. I miss you all so much. So definitely come back and visit Nicole when you're home. It would be great. And Carlos, it was so great to see you recently. And Clara and Rachel, I love that you are our ambassadors at our open house. And Rowan, yeah, we didn't get a chance much to talk, but I love that you went to one high school and decided it wasn't maybe for you want to try something else. You switched high schools and you're like, nope, I actually really did want to switch back. So you did several transitions, but the confidence that you had to know what you wanted, even though you could have gone to St. Andrews, a very prestigious, right, school for not a lot of money, you still felt like, and you did very well there. But you felt like, no, Odessa is where I want to be. And you had a passion for sign language and knew, even with your parents, you knew how to persuade your parents what was best for you. And that's something too for students. We try to impart on my students too. Try something. And I think that having the confidence to try something and know if it's working for you or not, and having the confidence to change and knowing there are lots of great things, positive and negative, wherever you are, and knowing who you are and what you want is really important. And then Mike, come visit. I'm so proud. Mike has a daughter who would be in my class. I'm just thinking about that. Like she would be at NCCL in group 4. I'm so proud of you. I love teaching you. I love teaching all of you. And thank you for taking the time. I know you guys are busy taking the time to meet and meet here in this unique group of people who, even if you don't know each other, I just feel like you're connected and it's really special for us to have you back. So thank you so much. I know we'd all the quiet applause from the audience who's here. I know Jordan's going to reach out, with some thank yous, and I'm really grateful for you all. And thanks for joining us.